G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Live Show. Today we're going to be previewing Round 8, talking through the big boys, giving our update on the trade targets and answering your questions. Let's go!
Hodge has done it from nowhere. Lifting the goal from inside the 30. Sheed from the boundary. Dusty!
G'day and welcome again to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter at Ball Boys Fantasy. And you can also find this guy here who is the true horny man on Twitter at Luke Rojo 17. He is the horny one, the real horny one. How are you, mate?
I'm exceptionally horny today. you picked it in one, mate. It's just I'm giving off the pheromones. But how about that from BT? We had to rewind.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, did
we?
he actually just say that? But yeah, classic BT. But yes,
mate,
let's.
I can't believe
what's happening, mate?
I can't believe that, mate. I've been sick for dead set 3 weeks, and I reckon the one thing I haven't tried is a beer.
Oh,
so
well, here's
maybe
cure.
Maybe this is what's going to happen, mate. The sweet elixir, and I'll be cured by the end of this show. But we'll see how we go.
You'll be ready to go. We've got a lot to talk about in today's show. We might start with the game last night. One of our trade targets has already played in big old Saudi.
Well, some might say a sugar hit.
A bit of a sugar hit. But yeah, what do you think of his performance? And
hey, I'm happy. Look,
happy.
I'm happy. I think he missed like 10 minutes, straight in that last quarter as well.
Yeah, he's on the bench a while.
I think there was the potential, and we saw repeat stoppages in that time. So I think that he can be a 90 guy, and if he's a 90 guy, and we can keep Soldo injured, which he tends to do to himself, then we might be onto some cash gen there. So
we definitely got some cash gen. What are your takes? So there's a few people that might have traded in. I think he was a popular trader. I think about like 8,000 people traded into him last night. If you were, let's start with, say you had him at R3 and you got the emergency on him. First question is, if you have like a Tristan Sherry there, are you putting Tristan Sherry on the bench and taking the 88 and just calling it a day there, or are you going to back in Tristan Sherry and think he scores more?
Yeah, I can see this being a tough question that we might even be asking ourselves for a few weeks here, because I think he's going to be around that 90. Do you take the certain 90? I think that when you're talking about like a captaincy, a VC and a captaincy, there's the risk of not getting those double points. And so I think that risk is like exacerbated,
Feels
I suppose.
higher, yeah.
For me, I'm just going to run with Sherry. So
I think I will too.
Yeah.
So Tristan Sherry, he's gone under 88 twice so far this season, and the only times he's gone under was 83. So you lose 5 points if he does, his worst. He's also gone up against, hobbled Rowan Marshall and Jackson Hayes, which we'll touch on later.
Yeah.
Flip side or different take on that question.
Okay.
Is this enough for you to trade a Tristan Sherry or a Grundy or a Marshall if you're running them at R2 and then flick them through DPP and utilities and loops and all this sort of stuff to a premium midfielder? What are your thoughts on that approach?
No, it's a no from me. And the thing that plays on my mind is if you're making that choice, you're making it on 1 week. So you're saying, well, I like that 88, but then even
this
when
week,
exactly. Even when you make that trade, then you then made that bed, you lie in it for the next 5 weeks with Sweet at R2. So
till the buys.
Which on any given day, might be 20 or 30 points to those rucks that are doing those 110. So I'm not getting too fancy. Sweet at R3 for me is fancy enough, and I'm going to kind of quit while I'm ahead, I think. Yeah,
because I've listened to a lot of content out there and podcasts from the content creators that are out there, which is a dirty word these days. But anyway, it's a popular move to be going the Jordan Sweet at R2. And the popular notion, I think, is like, it's a lot of money to have on your bench. But I kind of push back at that on the minute. Like, right now I've got Harvey Thomas, who's more than 400k, and he's sitting on my bench. I've got, someone like Seth Campbell. He's over 400k, sitting on my bench. Blake Howe's over 400k, sitting on my bench. So I have no issue with having a 400k player on my bench if I expect him to make another $200,000. Like, that is A-okay with me. Where I would be trading is I'd be trading Grundy. We've seen him have some floor games, and I think he's got enough money on his head that you can make that a much more reliable scorer in a midfielder. I'd be trading Rowan Marshall because of the injury and speculation about how fit he is, the Jack Hayes addition to the team, and just want to get off that and sort of like mitigate my downside risk. But if I'm a Tristan Sherry owner, if I can get my trade in another way, if I can upgrade a rookie, so for example, I'm able to get a Nick Dacos in by going Jeremy Sharp and Dempsey out.
Yep.
I'm doing that and holding Tristan Sherry. I know you're trading in someone like Tuke Miller with a similar kind of trade, a couple of rookies out, or a Zach Williams, I think you're also trading out. I think I'd prefer that than trading out like a Tristan Sherry to maybe one of those slightly more expensive guys. But if you had like no cash and you could only get someone in that you wanted by trading out a Tristan Sherry, then I would tick it off, assuming that it also gets maybe like a weaker rookie off your ground. And maybe you are able to get like a Jai Clark or someone up to, a decent premium with that kind of a trade. But if you can make the trade still with the rookie or a mid-price upgrade, I'd rather do that. But because Tristan Sherry, like, he's averaging 104. Like, he's one of the best rucks in the game at the moment.
He's going good, hey. And for anyone who tuned in late, this is all on the premise that you have Sweet at R3 as well. So if you did tune in late, that's kind of where this has all come from. But I want to talk about something else that happened in this game, because we were smug a little bit with this kind of reason.
I was thinking about that later. I think that's bad karma, mate. That's bad karma.
Well, then we're fucking in for it then, because we are the worst. But the thing, I feel bad for Connor Rozee owners, because you've had that false hope of they wouldn't play him if he was injured. They wouldn't.
Oh, you would think so.
And then I'm hearing other hamstring. Is that?
It's a big cover up.
I might have my tinfoil hat on, but like, surely not. He'd be the most unlucky bloke in the world.
It's one of the strangest build-ups to an injury that, like, just everyone from the outside looking in was like, "Yep, he's not going to play this week." There's no such thing as a 1 week hamstring. And I want to leave it this way. I want to call for our injury reporting to be better, man. Like, can we stop just throwing out like, oh, he's got a hamstring? Like, no shit, he's got a hamstring. He's got two of them. What is it? Is it a grade 1 tear? Is it grade 2 tear? Grade 3 tear? Is it a whatever the fuck hamstring awareness is. Like, I don't know what that actually means. Like,
it's the most dangerous.
I mean, yeah, you're proven right.
Well, the fact of it is, at the end of the day, they had the horny one out there and they had the limp one out there, and the Connor Rozee owners were stiff.
Yeah.
Well,
no, they weren't stiff. They were very limp. But
it was tough. I mean, like we were a little bit smug, but it is tough.
It's a shit situation to be in because obviously, like you said, if they're playing him not even a week after, you would assume, being one of their most important players, that they'd be not putting him out there under any risk.
100%. Well, okay, let's talk about it in fantasy terms. If you've had that happen to you, and Rozee's going to miss next week. Fucking surely.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, they're already, there's a few talks about it. It's like, oh, he's feeling good.
Oh my God.
I would expect him to miss.
He's probably at the live golf thing again. How does that influence your trade? Do you change your trade plans this week knowing that you're going to be moving off a premium potentially next week?
It could change your trades.
Like, for example, if you were pocketing some cash in this week's trades thinking, oh, I'm going to have to try and go mid prices again next week, but now you know that you're probably shifting Rozee, do you perhaps instead go somewhere else instead of, like, is there an argument for that?
I think, because some people like to say, like, if you cop an injury, like, you're holding all this cash, it's where these kind of things go wrong. Yeah. Sometimes cash is a good thing. Like, it's never a bad thing to have extra cash in your back pocket, but sometimes that could be wasted a little bit. Yeah. Like, you'd want to make sure that the cash you're holding, like, say you are doing like a sherry move and it gives you more, banked cash, then you'd want it to be enough that you could trade Rozee with the expected price that he's going to drop, which I might look up in a second, and then also still be able to get an upgrade. If the cash you're saving is enough to do that, then I think it's worthwhile. If it's not, I'd rather just get as many points as I can on the field this week with the expect that I'm probably going to be a little bit behind from next week because I'm having to trade out a premium and kind of like sideways a little bit. So, yeah, there's kind of two different ways I think you can go about it. But yeah, no, it sucks for the Rozee owners out there.
While you look that up with Rozee, and before we do dive into things, thank you, Trey, for the super chat. And he has a quick question for you, Mitch. Thinking of going Cabman to Baker and then Dempsey to Amanda Hug and Kiss. I don't mind Amanda Hug and Kiss coming off the back flank.
What is this?
Right up there with Hugh Direction. And
the old Direction.
Yes. Yeah. A common last name.
Yeah, the One Direction and his cousin Hugh.
He's Hugh, yeah. His mate, yeah. What do you reckon? You tick that off?
Yeah, look, I'm going to go through my forward options later, and I am definitely warming to Baker. I think there's something to it. Look, he's going really well, and I think that, I don't know, there's a few different ways it could play out, but I've always been a bit skeptical with Baker in fantasy in the past. But this is probably the most optimistic I've been for Baker's fantasy prospects, I think, in a long, long time. So
I might slightly disagree, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. Anita is not a bad option as well, running through the midfield. Anita Hunjob.
Let's move right on past that one. Connor Rozee is expected to go down $61,000 this week, unfortunately, and be priced at approximately about $850,000. So if you want to use that in your planning for next week's trades, if you're planning on potentially trading Connor Rozee if he does miss more time, which I think is likely, $850,000 is where he's going to be about in next week's price movement. So yeah, that's a tough one, which is always the worst thing with injuries. You get the shit score, but you also get that price drop and you have to force a trade. So it's like that triple whammy, which always sucks.
Team reactions. Yeah. I mean, for the most part, it was pretty uneventful, but I think a lot of people were really happy to see the back of Will Phillips because obviously a huge talking point this week.
Shout out to Will Phillips. Sorry, mate.
Will Phillips does not listen to this. Yeah. He's all good. He's better than us. So,
well, if he does, he doesn't anymore. So give him shit. But no, it's all because of Tom Powell.
I mean, he probably has Tom Powell on his team, and he said, "Look, I'll take a week."
Coach, I'll sit this one out.
So I think if you had Powell in your trade plans, is that enough to now say, let's give him one more week?
It is for me. Look, he's gone. You've also got Lazaro, who didn't play any midfield time last week, but has done it in the past. So yeah, it's enough for me to just, with the forward line we've got, for the guy who was before last week averaging 96 points for the season, it's enough for me to just hold, and hopefully they just go back to what they were doing before.
Yeah. The other thing, Jack Hayes in for the Saints, and that obviously dual ruck set up with Marshall. once again, like, my heart goes out to people who have Marshall, and especially people who have traded him in the last couple of weeks.
As a non-owner, I was worried. Like, it was the right trade to make, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's when it's tough, when the logic is right and it's there. And
process was there.
100%. So, and I don't even know. I think you might be trading if you don't have other things to do. I think you are this week.
I think if you've got the sweet option there, I'd be trading. If you don't, I might back him in. I think Hayes is probably the lesser of the two evils with Tom Campbell. Tom Campbell coming in because he's only a ruck.
Yeah, he's got one string.
Whereas Hayes is a forward first, ruck second.
Yeah.
So there's a world where it's not, disaster. Maybe we're jumping at shadows a little bit, but
we do like to do that.
We do like to jump at shadows, I think just with what he did last week and the week before, and the Jack Hayes coming in, and some of the wording around, him needing a rest anyway.
Try and keep that beer down, mate.
I know, yeah, keep the beer burps down.
It's the first one that's done.
So, but yeah, if you've got the Jordan Sweet 88 there on your emergency, I'd definitely probably be looking to trade. And you can always jump back on him later because he probably will be cheaper with that one there. Just a quick one on the Sunday teams that I don't have in the thing here. Caleb Daniel is omitted again, which is, I don't know what's going on there.
He's going to be...
Some people were a little bit worried about McRae being the sub. It's a pretty tough bench there. We obviously won't find out until later on the Sunday, but I think he's probably safe in that one there. For the other teams, what have we got? Richmond, we've got Jaden Short coming back in. He's going to be very cheap soon, Jaden Short, but I think we have to wait until we see something there. I thought Kane McAuliffe might make his way back into the side, but he's just an emergency, so didn't quite make it, which I think is good news for someone like a Liam Baker, because McAuliffe does sometimes go into the midfield, or at least when he was there. He actually played a decent amount of CBAs, but I think that helps someone like a Liam Baker. Ethan Reid comes back in for the Suns. Nothing really too much to write home there. So all pretty okay for the rest of the team on Sunday there. No huge omissions or anything like that.
Well, let's segue there to talk about some of these downgrade targets, because it's been a big talking point this week, the fact that we probably have downgrade targets, but the fact of the matter is, are we confident that these targets will still be at their respective teams 2-3 weeks from now when we need them to be? If you trade in a guy, like a Darcy Jones, like a Woe Woden, who, they fit the bill for downgrade target, but if they don't make you any cash and become a red dot 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to leave yourself in a bit of a pickle. So
yeah, especially coming into buys, we do not want that.
So talk to us about a couple of guys that you got your eye on that could be potential guys.
Well, a couple of guys, and I think the first guy here, I don't think he's been getting enough chat about this week from, at least that's some of the things I've been listening to, Jake Rogers from the Gold Coast Suns. Yep. I think that he is if you didn't go Jordan Sweet was my number one, but obviously we've missed that boat now. But Jake Rogers is my number one downgrade target. Plays for the Gold Coast Suns. He's a mid-only 280,000 now. I watched that game and to me, in my eyes, he looked really good. I think he got the Rising Star nomination.
He did look good.
Kicked a goal, had 22 touches, a mark and 3 tackles. Just gave away 2 free kicks as well, so could have been a 70-plus score. It was against the Eagles, is the flag. But he was a high draft pick from what I understand, and I think that his job security is probably one of the best out of all of these options. And I think his role looks solid. Play that high half forward kind of a role. Yep. Came up to the stoppages. So I think he's not in there replacing any injuries or anything like that. He's just kind of getting exposure for the Suns, which they seem to be doing this year.
I think from where I'm sitting, yes, I agree that his job security is probably maybe the best of the lot. I don't think his scoring potential is the best. Did have
that 22 the week before.
That's correct. And you said the high half forward role can be fruitful, but it can also be barren as well. We know that week to week, if you're just doing that unrewarded role, you might not get much of it either. So job security, yes, I think that's a tick in his box. But if you're looking for, rookies with like a consistent, 60, 70, I'm not sure he's going to be your guy.
I mean, it's kind of like a pick of a bad bunch. I still don't mind him. I actually think, just to the eye, what I saw last week, I think that he's better than that 22 that he put up the week before. We had players like Harvey Thomas put up crap scores and they've kind of come good, and just based on the eye test, I was happy to bring those guys in. I think he strikes me as that kind of a player. Number 2, I have Riley Hardiman for the North.
I've been called the Hardiman in my time as well, but I'm guessing you've got him here. I absolutely have not been called the Hardiman. Is there a little bit of job security behind this one too?
The job security comes from the fact that he plays for North Melbourne. And look, if you're playing for North Melbourne, you've got to be pretty bad to not, get cut.
Lazaro's on my bench proving that point.
Yeah, but I feel like his job security is not as strong as Rogers, but he's got a better role playing off a bit of a half-back for a team that gets a lot of ball in their back line. So I think his scoring ability may be a bit higher than a Rogers. Job security is a little bit worse. Probably not as bad as some of the next couple of options. So I think that because he's in a developing team, he's probably more likely to get, 4 or 5 weeks go at it, rather than a team that's trying to win every single game and compete for flags. But yeah, he's a defender. I want to say like 254K, 253K defender only. So he is a solid one. Saints this week, break even of 10. So those are my top 2. And then I've got the forwards in Darcy Jones and Taj Woden, who are the low break-even guys.
Of all the names on the list, if I wasn't concerned about job security, Darcy Jones would be my pick of the bunch.
He was the guy that caught the eye the most, wasn't he?
I think he did. I think he's come reasonably highly touted as a junior, and maybe he benefited on the weekend for playing for a good team as well. But if I wasn't so concerned about what his job security looks like when GWS bring back Cornelio Green this week, Taylor, obviously, a little bit dissimilar, but he's the guy that I would be trading in.
We're not spicy takes yet, but my early spicy take or hot take is I reckon he's going to be the sub this week. I reckon he starts as the sub.
When's that game?
I want to say it's the first game on Saturday. Really, really wet, apparently.
Moist.
So I think he could potentially start at the start and maybe sub out one of those key forwards at some point, or maybe there's a late change even. I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if he is either a red or a green vest option.
Same story
how well he was.
Well, same story for Taj Woden as well. He went all right on the weekend, but you can see in his history there that he's very vestable. So at your own peril there, I reckon, unfortunately.
Yeah. What about some upgrade targets? I believe we'll chuck up the graphic targets, here. Mate. Now, I've excluded the forwards in this graphic here because, look, I don't trust him. I don't trust him. And if you can get one of these mids, I would be doing the midfield. So
see that transition there, mate?
Very nice transition.
Smooth as.
Number 1, I've still got Nicky Dacos, and that is where I am going this week. Look, I don't necessarily think you're going to get instant reward this week.
Yeah.
But he's at number 1 because we're going to want to have him, and especially for a situation that I'm in, I'm left with not too much money at the end of this week. I'm going to be left with $20,000. So I'm not super confident that if any kind of carnage hits this weekend that I'm going to be able to get to him next week. So while I can get him now, I want to lock him in, square him away, and I can sort of be creative after that. Number 2, I've got Tom Green. So if a lot of questions I think are going to come up later, or maybe have already, premium midfielders.
Yeah.
Tom Green is my pick. And I tweeted this out a little bit earlier. I don't know. Sometimes it's a bit of an old man rant here, but
not from you, mate.
The round 12 bye and people's aversion to trading in players who have the round 12 bye really just gets under my skin a little bit because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm totally fine getting in players with round 12 bye. I know it's the first bye. I know old wisdom would say do this 8, 10, 12 strategy. But if you have fewer players on the round 12 bye, which most of us should do, there's only 4 teams on the bye that round. The only players that I would expect that people are going to want to keep by any means necessary are your Harry Sheasel, your Lockie Whitfield, your Isaac Heaney's, and probably if you've got a Goulden. So there's 4 players in your team that you're going to absolutely want to have. That is very, very easy to handle. So if you throw in another player like a Tom Green, I think that is very, very manageable. So I'm not worried about that. Number 3, I've got Andrew Brayshaw. 4, I've got his teammate Caleb Sarong. Just a price difference for me there.
Sorry,
and
I just touched your leg under the table. That was weird.
Oh, I thought you were going for something after that. But anyway, and then number 5, I've got Touk Miller, who is, I believe, the cheapest of these options. He's the guy that and you can just get him with 0 left in the bank. If you can get up to a Tuke Miller, I'm still very happy with that trade. I think he's a
0 left at the Oxlongs after the 2 gets traded in. And if
it seems like a safe 100 plus.
Or
week.
You've just mozzed the shit. And you're trying to, you bastard too. I know what you're doing.
But
But if he can put his tackles and his marks together,
yes.
he hasn't yet had a game there, the old Tukester, where he has put those together. So he's had high marks or high tackles. If he gets them together,
I still think there's a ceiling there. I really do. He hasn't shown it yet, but I think it's still there.
We'll see. The
what are your thoughts on any of these guys? Do you think I've missed anyone that you're looking at or think might be a good option there?
Look, the thing that we probably haven't addressed in this list is some of those guys that fall into that sort of underpriced bracket. And, let's just kind of talk generally about some of these guys that we were looking at, or that people might be looking at in the forward line. What are our thoughts on McRae? Caldwell obviously performed poorly last week. Some people are... thinking of moving some DPP and is Bailey Dale on an absolute tear.
Bailey Dale's an interesting one.
These guys in this bracket, because not everyone's going to be able to potentially get to these guys. So, first of all, McRae, what are your thoughts?
We said at the start of the week, I think in our review podcast, that he might be the option of the forwards. I have listened to a few other podcasts and it's changed my opinion in a way that some people who traded him in last week watched him very nervously, they didn't like what they saw.
Okay.
I think when you trade a player in, you watch your players a bit more closely.
Fucking close. I don't actually watch football games anymore.
Just the guy you traded in.
It's so weird.
And so that made me sort of because my opinion of McRae has never been overly positive. I've never really, viewed him as a very good, impactful player from the proper AFL point of view. So when other people who maybe used to or did see that say more in line with what I've always felt, it makes me go, okay, I'm going to sort of back my gut in a bit there. So I've lowered a little bit on McRae after hearing a few comments from other people. Okay. So for me, some of the other options in my forward rankings, I'd actually put Liam Baker up at number 1 at the moment now. It's a bit of a risky play.
The way he got to his score last week, you saw it. It was stinky. It was
shit second and third quarter, great first and last quarter.
That to me is flag city. That's
but
the
McRae, did you
flags.
see McRae's first quarter?
Well, I'm not saying McRae's a good option. I'm just saying I don't necessarily rate Bakes as a great option either.
But if we just look at Bakes' last 4 or 5 games, he's gone 83, 92, 113, 105, 85 in his last 5. In his last 5 games, he is averaging... what is he averaging? 95.6. He's a player price at about that 85 mark. I think that there's a little bit of value built into it. I also love his round 15 buy, which is an appealing point for McRae because that round 15 buy, if you can get him through there, and he is that kind of player that you don't mind trading him out at that round 15 buy, get someone, you've got all the options coming off their buys. His price is moving in the right direction. There's midfielders just falling over themselves at Richmond at the moment. So I don't think a few of those guys are coming back anytime soon either.
I feel like what we're getting from this discussion is if you can avoid the forwards at the moment, it's probably...
I'm still of that mindset. I'm happy running 2 rookies on the forward line.
Yeah.
But some people will be shopping there. I'm trading him in my Bolter team.
Okay.
As just a heads up. So I've got skin in the game. What do you think about Liam Baker and the reports of him going to West Coast? Do you think that's helping his case to get that?
My dad texted us the other day and said, we'll put him in the midfield to try and... I think he's gone. He's as good as gone. There's no
do you think that
play him in this role to save him.
What if it ups his trade value or something like that, his asking price?
Potentially. Isn't he a free agent? Can they just walk? I don't know enough about.
I should probably research this before I start talking shit.
But I wouldn't be looking at anything like that to influence your fantasy choice.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay. I hijacked your trade targets there.
That's
mate.
all right.
Sorry
No.
Did you want to briefly talk about Bailey Dale?
Yeah, Bailey Dale's an interesting one. I think if it was a different year, he'd be a much higher discussion point. But the fact is we've got so many good defenders in our teams right now.
Yeah.
A lot of us have got more defenders than defender spots.
But a lot of them are DPP eligible. Yeah. So if you've got a guy that is potentially...
Well, what do you think? What do you think he could do? Where do you see him averaging
in the role that he's been doing the last 2 weeks? Fuck me dead.
Killing
he could be a 105 guy. And this is a guy that hasn't averaged much more than I don't think he would have averaged. Why
is he scoring so well? Is it because Caleb Daniels out of the side, Ed Richards is playing in the midfield?
And so then, what does that look like when Libba comes back in? If Ed Richards is that kind of where you send the conversation? I agree. something distinct has changed in the last 2 weeks to the point, and I don't buy too much into the he was put a rocket under and all that kind of stuff. Like if you can play football, you can play football. Yeah. So something's changed in terms of that role there as well. I think
his marks have been nuts. 15 marks, 9 marks in the last 2 games.
Yeah, he goes Hawthorn and Richmond. If my eyes don't deceive me, there is that right?
So I mean, great matchups for defenders as well. He kicked 2 goals last game, a goal the game before. There's a lot of outlier things here.
You're not hanging your hat on the goals, but I think you can get behind the marks.
Yeah. Do you think the marks are sustainable?
What's he got?
15 and 9 in his last 2.
Okay.
I mean, you're not going to expect that every week, but is he someone who can average 8 marks a game?
Look, I think at a stretch, I would tick that one off. I almost like that more than a forward, trading in a forward, but I understand that if
it's just about where you can place him, right? Like, so if you view him as someone, it'll depend on who you've got, right? Like if you've got a backline you're happy with, like if I look at my backline, I've got Harry Sheasel, I've got Lockie Whitfield, I've got Nick Martin, I'm trading in Nick Dacos, I've got the man in Hayden Young.
Oh, like that guy's so good.
I don't see Bailey Dale outscoring any of those players.
I love Hayden Young.
I do too. Great hairstyle too. The only player I can see him outscoring is Jordan Clark.
How much for you to grow a ponytail?
Not enough money in the world.
Just do it.
If I win the car, I'll grow a ponytail. How about that?
I reckon if you win a hat, grow a ponytail.
Oh, then I've got something to hide it with. So
correct.
There you go. But I've only got Jordan Clark sitting in my back line that I think that Bailey Dale can outdo. But if I trade Bailey Dale in...
much too. No, I get that.
He's sitting in my midfield anyway, so I'd rather just trade into a midfield. He is cheap, though.
Okay. I hijacked your trade targets. We've got to talk because we want to answer some questions. So let's talk some big boys, should we?
Where are my sunnies? They're in the car. So left.
No sunnies.
Well, this just will not do. What an anticlimax. But number 1 big boy, and he is the biggest boy on the list, except for maybe the big llama at number 4. Maxi Gawn is number 1. He's the second highest averaging player on the season behind number 2, Harry Sheasel. Look, if Harry Sheasel was absolutely 100% confirmed to be playing still that halfback main distributor role for North, then he would be number 1. The only reason he's number 2 is because there's a little flag that maybe he plays a bit more midfield, and in the midfield, it's not as good of a matchup against the Saints. So for that reason, I've got Sheasel at 2. For me, he's the perfect vice-captain this week, and it's what I'll be doing, going into Max Gawn, which is the next game, up against Geelong, who is a pretty friendly matchup for Ruckman, and just backing in the big man who hasn't gone under 100 since opening round when he was... reportedly a little bit sick, and obviously had the big game against his opponent, Grundy. So I really like the top 2. I also really like Zach Merritt against the West Coast Eagles. He's at number 3. Timmy English is back. And he's back. And he's going up against Hawthorn, who give up a lot of points to rucks, also give up a lot of points to midfielders, which he essentially kind of plays like.
How good are some of these rucks that just get around like midfielders? Yeah. They're so good.
The rucks are going good at the moment for a few teams.
Spoiled for choice.
And then at number 5, I have Tom Green. Don't know about the ceiling in like a slosh fest that it's going to be the Sydney Derby.
That could be. I don't know about that. That could be.
It could be like one of those like Tuke Miller kind of, he gets the tackles, but there's no marks. So
yeah, I mean,
I'm expecting like a 120. I just don't know if there's going to be like a 150. Yeah, but I do think those are my top 5.
Okay, who rounds it out, mate?
So the 6 through 10, I've got 6. Caleb Sarong. Some people might have him right up there. I am a little bit small asterisk that there might be a tag coming from Marlon Pickett, who went to Petrarca last week. Yep. So little flag for those people maybe also looking to trade him in. I do think he's going to be fine for the season, but just for captaincy, small little asterisks there. I had Zach Butters at number 7, 104.
What about...
You taking 104?
No.
I'm not taking either.
Zach Butters, I mean, just to be clear, we didn't have the VC on him, but...
No, but if you did.
The last quarter was good.
What did he end up on?
He ended up at 104.
Sorry, what was his final
I think it was
quarter?
like 44, 40...
Fuck yeah, Zach. Let's go.
That's great. But it's just because he decided to do something other than touch the footy.
Yeah, I mean, he had... You showed it like it was like three-quarter time. He had the most disposals in the game.
Yeah,
and
marks, tackles. I think he had 5 tackles in the last quarter. So.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, 44 points in the last quarter, 4 tackles, 1 mark.
There's a ceiling game just around the corner for Zachary, I believe.
Yeah, well, it might help that.
Especially with his limp mate.
Yeah, out of the side. Number 7.
He'll have to contend with the horny one.
Yeah, well, stay away from him. Don't get too close.
You got to be so careful. You might catch something.
Number 8, I've got Sam Walsh. He's just ticking along. Speaking of not getting marks, one of these games, he's going to get some marks.
Well, I mean, it's not long ago he had a huge ceiling score, mate.
He did.
You just didn't get it. So.
Yeah, and I'm salty. But there's a couple of outs for Collingwood. I think they've got no Tom Mitchell, no Dugowie.
You're going to be riding tonight's game hard, actually. Harder than I will.
A couple of unique players playing tonight.
Trade in, Dacos, Walsh coming in.
Yes. I've got Bont at 9. He'd be higher if I had more trust in him because of the Hawthorn matchup. It's very juicy. But the form, I don't know. I don't think he's tackling as well.
You wouldn't have him on the list if you're an owner, trust me.
Yeah, but the matchup is very, very good. And I've got also got Andrew Brayshaw. And if there is a bit of attention going to Sarong, Brayshaw could actually get off the chain like he did against Carlton a few weeks ago. But probably wouldn't love to go that. But he's at number 10.
We just lost a fucking subscriber because of your no glasses, mate. Poor Cade wants the glasses and you're giving him bagels.
I'll give you this, Cade.
Hansel, so hot right now. Hansel.
Yeah. He requested the so hot right now, so just got to keep subscribers happy.
I hope people have seen Zoolander or they have no
Who hasn't
idea.
seen Zoolander, mate? Come on.
I thought maybe I was a bit of like a niche guy with the Zoolander. Was that just everyone's?
Everyone saw Zoolander.
Okay.
Sure, if you haven't, go and watch it.
Are you an
after
Ambi Turner?
I've known to be. Yeah.
You can go both ways.
I could turn. Turn both ways.
Got him! Right. What a setup. That's called the alley-oop to myself.
Let's get on to the next segment. Get your bloody maracas out.
Okay. Jeez,
right.
It takes me a while to get through these things on the new software. Yeah.
All right. Spicy take. I think we've got a bit of
You fell straight in.
bit of hope in these spicy takes today.
We always have a bit of hope in my spicy takes, but Will Phillips out. Tommy Powell.
Pow!
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, nice one. Powell is back, baby. I reckon we're going 3 figures this week. Just making everyone cool the jets a little bit.
And telling his coach that don't put me in the fucking forward line again. I deserve to be in the guts.
Correct, Mundo. I said it earlier in the week. Clarko is just throwing magnets at the board at the moment. So
I reckon, not my spicy take, but I reckon Clarko's lost it a bit.
Like lost his mind or his touch?
Probably a bit of both. But it's getting up there in age. But I don't know.
Well,
the Volcano's said it a few times.
And you're a big Volcano guy now.
I don't. Some of his takes, I get around.
Hey, well.
But anyway. Sidetrack.
Yeah. No, sidetrack. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Okay, let me pass you the maracas.
All right, another hopium here, and this is maybe just because I'm not trading him, but Tristan Sherry punishes those who trade him out and goes 120 plus and towels up an injured, hobbled Rowan Marshall. Goes 10 plus tackles. I'll throw it in there as well. But it goes 120 plus and punishes those who trade him out. Those are my spicy takes. Drop your spicy takes down in the comments section of the video on YouTube. Yeah. Would love to hear them. Sure. And might even come back to a few that get up on the weekend, and you can have a bit of a gloat and victory lap if it does.
We better, buddy, stay true to our word on that one, then, eh?
Yeah. Let's go into some of these questions over here.
Indeed.
What have we got over here? If you've got a question, guys, make sure you... yes, Simon will be flicking this out to the podcast feed, I think. I've just checked and I did not hit records, but hopefully I can get the audio from this video podcast and
I think we might be in strife.
Might be. Yeah. This is what the beers do to me. Let's have a look at some of these questions, mate. What have we got for us, Luke? Who goes first, Fisher or Zach Williams? And would you start Z-Will or Graham?
I think I'm probably moving the Fish on first.
I might disagree with you there.
Okay, hear me out and then disagree with me.
What's Zachy Williams gone? He's got Collingwood tonight.
He does. So the Fish, the mighty Fish himself, 34 last week as a sub, break even of
8 points per minute.
I could do 8 points per minute if I only played 10 minutes. 106 is his break even, and then I do know that St Kilda matchup is there, but what are the chances that he gets that vest again, either green or red? So what do you think?
He's named, and this sometimes means nothing, but he is named on the field. He's named at half forward. I mean, again, doesn't mean anything, but the fact that he's not in the interchange, I think, is maybe a good thing. A part of me feels like this could be, the situation where you trade out a player.
Yep.
We all trade him out.
Yep.
And then they finally start doing what we thought that they could do, a la a Dom Sheed kind of situation or an Ollie Wines kind of situation. There's a decent chance, I reckon, this is one of those. And we just sit here going, we fucking started with this guy for a reason, and he did nothing. And then
we've added to that back line. Like, if we expect Sheasel to stay down there, and now we've got McKercher, who anyone who held is happy to go back down there. Like, what Fisher comes in and improves with more competition for ball. Zach Williams, the other thing with Zach Williams... Okay, so Zach Williams is cheaper. So is it one of those cases where if you can't get what you like from Williams, you move Fisher?
Yeah, if it's the difference between your upgrades, I'd go that way.
Should we settle on that?
I'll settle on that, but I do think Fisher outscores Williams this week. Okay. And he's in a forward line. So,
okay, some questions coming in thick and fast. Let's go. Dempsey or Wilson on field, Graham or Closey on field?
Dempsey or Wilson. I'm going to go Wilson there, I think, against the Kangaroos.
Yeah, I think so too.
Dempsey plays Colin. I don't know. Who do they play? Who the Cats play this week? Why am I blanking on that? Melbourne.
Graham or Closey on field? Look, I'm still Closey on field. I know that last week the roles were reversed, but the one thing I will say is they've got the Q clash this week, and
Brisbane
I haven't
Lions.
checked the forecast for up here on Sunday yet.
Let's have a look at the forecast. It's been a bit drizzly, but nothing...
That's what made me think about it. I was a little bit nippy today at work.
We got
if we have a little
bit of rain on the forecast,
a bit of dampness coming Sunday, maybe that could be tackles. But I think I'm still Closey.
So you might be surprised to know that against the Brisbane Lions, they actually give up more points compared to average to wingers than they do inside mids. So that would favour a Closey.
Yeah.
And I do think that his scoring maybe suffered a little bit because he had to come off the field a bit for that like wrist injury and things like that. According to DFS, inside mids on average score 3 points less than their average, and wingers score 6 points more than their average. So,
okay, you reference your source, mate. Is that APA 7?
Nope, I don't think so.
Link in the description.
Yeah, link in the description. Check me bibliography. Bibliography. So I think Closey, but maybe check the weather. I think if it is pissing down rain, at least they're the same team, so you can just swap them last minute.
Mitchell tweet about it. It's pissing down rain.
I'm probably fielding both, to be honest.
Okay. So, yeah, Closey in the midfield.
Gives you an answer.
Okay, there'll be just general questions about the forward line. So I saw one here before that was ranking our forwards. So McRae, Dylan Moore is a guy that we haven't talked about previously. Obviously Baker, and then there was one last one there. My old eyes can't fucking keep up. Talk to me about Dylan Moore while I find the last
I like
time.
Dylan Moore. I think Dylan Moore's like a floor play. I don't know if we've got a huge ceiling score from him, but in the forward line, it's
this year.
Yeah, a lot of people are sort of crediting the fact that he had what do you have, glandular fever or something like that. He had something I think early in the year, and he missed the preseason games because of that. So some people suggesting that he might have started slowly because of that. I do think that one of his more recent games was one of the floor games. But I still think that he's a guy that can probably give you mid to high 80s, even without the CBAs. So I think that he's probably a safer option than someone like a McRae. Maybe even safer than Baker, but I think I'm more preferring Baker's role, and he's also got a round 14 bye, so if you've got players like a Flanders, a Caldwell, maybe in there as well, I think the round 15 is a better bye for the forward lines, because outside of McRae, you don't really have anyone else on that bye round. I'd probably have McRae behind both of those players.
All right. Shea Bolton?
Shea. Oh, I actually really like Shea if he was just a bit cheaper. Yeah, he's been good. And he's a gun player. The run for Richmond's not bad either. So if maybe you don't care as much about price, I think of all those guys we talked about, I'd probably tip Shea to average the most.
Okay.
But he is 811k compared to Baker's 751. So what's that? 60k more. That tips me to Baker, but if you're the type of person that goes 60k, who gives a shit, then I do think Shea averages more. But it's a tough one. Close call. Shea can be very up and down, but he has a ceiling. He has a big ceiling.
Is it Pietro has brought up the fact that the North Melbourne and Melbourne games are going to be really, really close there, and I don't know if there'll be a potential overlap, but if you are wanting to go Sheasel into Max, you're going to have to be really quick on the trigger there for your VC loop.
Yep.
I'd imagine that the games will roll straight into each other. I think it's about 3 hours.
I'm just having a look now. Gap. So 4:35, and then Max plays at 7:30. So yeah, there might be about a 5-minute sort of crossover, 5-10 minutes. They normally don't go straight into each other.
Yeah, hopefully not. I mean, I think 5 minutes is enough to know if you're happy with what you want to get.
So.
But that is the ultimate moz when you throw the VC loop on early. So good point there, bringing that one up.
Set an alarm.
Yeah.
If you
don't have a life,
I was going to say, if you're a bit more sociable than you and I,
don't lump me in, mate.
Then maybe if you're going to be out and about, maybe you'd look for a different type of loop. But if you've got no life like we do, it's okay. You can make it work, I reckon. All right. Dankelos potential tag tonight due to outs. Maybe. I don't think... who's the tagger for Carlton?
Hewitt.
Hewitt. He hasn't been doing hard tags. I don't think the hard tags have really been a thing at all this year. So... Moz. So, yeah, I'm optimistic that's not going to be too bad. What else we got?
Okay, Lachlan's got a question there. Trading Sanders this week. So are we trading to a forward like Bolton McRae? We sort of kind of roughly touched on that one.
Yeah.
Moving to a midfielder. I think my preference is wanting to go to midfielders.
8.37 though.
It is cheaper, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't.
Parrish hasn't shown enough to show that he's probably back on the way up. I know he scored well last week, but he still had that low game time, and we kind of noted that he and Caldwell have both been having that low game time, and their scoring's kind of been flip-flopping a little bit. Caldwell went well for a couple of weeks, and then Parrish went well last week because there was a dangly on offer. But that's a tough one. I think you're probably still going the forwards, but.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go Parrish over one of those forwards. I think there's as much risk with Parrish as the forwards, and at least in the forward line you can hide behind a little bit. So I think in that instance I might target the forwards instead of Parrish. I don't love Parrish, to be fair. I just don't trust the time on ground.
I know it's too late for this week, but Gamer Donkey has given us the all caps Saligo. What is it too late there? I mean,
we probably should have given him more respect.
We should have. The role is good, and from a footy perspective, he's been good for what the Crows are doing in the last little bit. So, do you just think the ship sailed from a fantasy perspective?
So he's got 115, 97, 98. If you jumped on him 3 weeks ago, even 4 weeks ago, I know he started that run with a 73, but after we saw that 102 from him against Melbourne, he's been a great pick. What's he? 678, which would make him priced still, priced at under 70. It's probably not too late. They have a good run coming up, I believe Adelaide do. Brisbane, Collingwood, West Coast, Hawthorn, Richmond, Sydney. That is a good run. And he does have the round 15 buys, the perfect kind of player you could trade out. If he goes, so he won't be priced at that anymore. So we'll have to check. Let me see. What did he score? 115. It might be one that he'll be priced at 725. So that will make him about an 83. It's getting close. It is getting close. I think there's probably... This last week was probably the last week to jump on him after that price rise that we're going to happen to see this week. So, great pick you jumped on. Yeah, one that we probably didn't give enough attention to.
Right. Grand Myers.
I can't. The roll. I can't do it.
Yeah. No, he's decent.
I mean, he is known to be the Messi of AFL, so.
Green, Goulden, and Walsh.
I'm Green, Walsh, Goulden. What are your thoughts on Goulden? I don't know. I don't know why I have this bias against him. Actually, no, I do know why. I can explain why I don't like him as much this year, but I did trade him out last year, so, read into that what you will. I just don't know if he is going to be the same Goulden we saw last year with Isaac Heaney doing it he's doing.
he's playing such high time on ground, so I know that perhaps there's not as much of that like inside time that he was doing. So maybe it's not what we saw last year. But do you agree that at some point we need to own him, or do you think that there's
maybe?
Where...
I don't know if he's a lock for top 8. So he's priced at 108.
Since round 1, he's probably going at 108. I'm just looking at his scores here and making shit up, but like it's not far off. There's only an 83 in there. Everything else is almost 110 plus.
Might have to have a look at that. But
so
I think if you are trading him in, expecting him to be like that sort of 115 type of guy that he was last year, I'd temper your expectations.
All right.
Because we do have Luke Parker, who's still yet to come back to the team. He's playing second week in a row in the in the VFL, which some other people weren't too impressed by.
Some talent in the VFL, Luke Parker.
So he's been going 110 basically since round 1. So if you take out that round 0 game, he's gone 110. I think that's about where he is. Like a 110 guy. He's priced at 108. A little bit of meat on the bone, but I don't know, I just prefer others.
All right, we'll answer one more question because I think Bales is on the Fantasy Fanatics account there. It's something you mentioned previously, but trading in Tom Green with those other round 12 guys that you mentioned, you said you're of the opinion it's not too many round 12 guys to have.
So
like in this particular question, he's saying, Tom Green, would you go Sarong instead of Green this week? Like I feel like if I was happy with either Sarong or Green, why not just go Sarong with the better buy?
Yeah, I mean, you may be splitting hairs there a bit. I like Sarong. I think he's going to be good. I do think I like Green a bit better in terms of what I expect him to score. In terms of like how many buy round players in round 12 is too many. Like I said, you got Sheasel, Whitfield, you got Heaney, Goulden. I think a fifth is okay. Like, having 5 premiums on their buy is not the end of the world. Especially if you've traded in a Jordan Sweet, you now maybe don't have Tristan Sherry on his buy there. Tom Powell, who knows if he's actually going to be a guy that we keep up to his buy. Like, I think it's okay. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think it goes through.
I think you just got to maybe, and this is the only thing I will say about round 12 buy players, keep yourself at least one target to come off their buy, because in round 13, we will going to want to target someone coming off their round 12.
Yeah.
So if you've got Goulden and Tom Green, and if you're still looking for a midfield around that time, like, I don't know if you're going to want to go to, maybe Dunkley, but probably not Lachie Neale the way he's looking.
Yeah, so just leave yourself with someone to go to.
Yeah, so I think that's the only thing where I would say leave at least one target off round 12, but otherwise, if you can 5 or less, I think is fine in terms of the premiums.
All right, we're going to wrap this bad boy up because we want you guys to get over and listen to the Fantasy Fanatics there on Twitter as well. They do that. They do the great Twitter Spaces there on a Friday afternoon.
Twitter broadcasts now.
Twitter broadcasts.
Yeah,
that sounds even
video involved. Yeah,
more professional. But if you didn't get your question answered and you want Mitch to answer your question,
head over to askmeonq.com/theballboys. Make sure you go ask the question in as much detail as you can, because I will send you an answer via an audio message directly to your inbox so you can listen to that one. And I can go a lot in detail with those ones, a lot more in detail than I can in these podcasts when we're answering a lot of other people's questions too. If I don't get to them on time, within the 24 hours, you will get refunded your money. So if I have missed any of your questions, feel free to chuck them back up again and I will get to them when I see them. So, yeah, that's askmeonq, spelt QU.com/ballboys. All right, that'll do us.
Don't lock it in, mate.
That's it, mate. Good luck to everyone this round. And, hope your captains go big boys. And hope your trades fly the first week you bring them in. So we'll catch you guys later. What are you doing? The arrow, mate.
Oh, is it the arrow?
The arrow.
Ready? Which one's the good one?
This one.
Which one's got the lasers? Let's go!
See you later. Bye.